Evertonians, welcome to Follow Everton. This is the transfer special show. I'm Ryan, the channel admin and host, and today I have all the way from Italy, the transfer guru himself, Corey. Corey, welcome to the show. You've presented a lot of information to me ahead of this. Are you excited to talk about transfers?
I am, mate. Yeah, something I've been wanting to get into for a little bit, and there's a lot of moving parts now. So I think that's why before it becomes out of date or runs past it, then I think we should let everyone know what the options are ahead of us, and maybe let everyone get a little bit excited for what's going to be an exciting and a little bit of a frantic transfer window, I expect.
So Everton have apparently appointed a new, is it a consultant? Is it from Manchester City, Corey?
I think it's from Leeds, maybe. We're not from Leeds.
There's another consultant. We'll come to this anyway, but Everton's transfer committee is being bolstered at the moment, and they have their hands cut out, to say the least. We have several players leaving back to their parent clubs who've been on loan last season. We have several players who are out of contract on June the 30th, and we've already heard about the future of several of them, including Abdoulaye Doucouré, Ashley Young, and many others. But it's come out this week that Everton are in talks with Calvert-Lewin and Michael Keane over a renewal, but there has been no breakthrough on that. And that contracts have been on the table and offered to Idrissa Gana Gueye, who's currently on international duty, and Seamus Coleman, who is probably at his home in Walton, watching this show now and wondering what to do. Anyway, so they've got their hands full. We've got a lot of players to sign. Quality as well as quantity, and that's really difficult, Corey, because ideally you want a squad and then you want to go, right, okay, well, where were we weak last season? It was right back, it was right wing. We'll go and get two players and sort those areas, but we have too many things to do. Is it a case of prioritizing?
I think so, yeah. It looks to me so far that a part of the priority is up front. If you look at the links, obviously, the Liam Delap, Tieno Barry, who we will get to fairly shortly. So yeah. I think there's some priority there from the club. I've got my own ideas on what the priority is, but I'm a transfer guru, not part of the Everton recruitment team. I think it's a case of maybe a £30 million player here or there, a couple of 15 millions, and a 10-5, certainly a couple of frees or loans as well. So we need to be savvy in the market, but there's an array of different players for different kind of budgets that are available, and that's kind of what we need to look into and get right.
And what we got to remember is what we don't want to do is release all these players, and it looks to me like we've offered every single player who's left a deal of some description, but we don't want to go, okay, well, we just released Young, we just released Keane, we've just released Calvert-Lewin, and then we go and spend the same sort of money to buy players of that equivalent level. I think if we were going to just do that, we might as well have just said, look, what do you want salary-wise? You want this. The problem is, Corey, the players that we've let go, the players that are leaving, they haven't justified their extortionate salaries, and that's why we're not getting them to re-sign, because it's like me and your job. If I offered you, I'm making it up, if I offered you 40 grand a week, and for 40 grand a year, we're in the real world here, 40 grand a year, and you were on 50, you're going to be like, whoa, you know, why are you, or you're on 30 grand, and last year you're on 35, you're not going to be too happy. And you know, footballers are some of the most egotistical, you saw it with Doucouré, arrogant, egotistical, up their own backside people. They think they're God's gifts, and so they're not going to drop their wages, and that's why we're losing them. But Corey, we can't go and sign. We shouldn't be looking to go and get a 5 million signing who just about replaces, say, Doucouré. We need to be more ambitious. We need to go another level. And have we got that? Because what I can see, Corey, the market looks really difficult. Saudi Arabia are rinsing all the fringe players with big names anywhere, and then they're trying to poach top players as well. Yeah. And you've got likes of Chelsea sweeping up young talent and established. It seems to be really difficult. How can we possibly sign 13 players this summer? Or is it a case of we need to just build a strong core and then embellish it with a couple of free transfers and maybe some that we wouldn't like, just to get the numbers up a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's it. We know for certain there's still players in the starting 11 up for grabs. So I think most of us can agree we certainly need a right back of some sort of sustainable quality. We certainly need some wingers, certainly one right winger who's got pace. I think we're desperate, absolutely desperate for some pace out wide in the team. And then once you've got them most important position locked down, and that's the starting 11 sorted. Then you can start kind of pulling it back, free transfers, loans, players who maybe are going to be bit part, who be squad players, because you just need them. Like Oral Mangala last season, he wasn't ridiculous, he wasn't exceptional or anything like that. But what he was, and which is what was great for the loan player, was he didn't do anything over the top mega, but
he was a decent 6.5 out of 10 every week without being anything more than that, really.
Exactly, and sometimes that's what you need just to get you through the winter period. Who are going to be solid, or when you've got a couple of injuries and stuff like that. And so it's about being smart. It's about signing the correct players at the right price, obviously, but based on what we need as a team and where the holes are.
Interesting analysis. Now, as part of your job, Corey, you like to watch a lot of football, and we're not going to say too much about your role as in the football world, but you get to watch a lot of games, Bundesliga, La Liga. Any particular league that you enjoy watching? Just to give, because we don't want to give too much away about your background for those watching, but
yeah, so my current favourite is Bundesliga. It changes depending on who's in the league, how they play, and things like that. Bundesliga is probably the most exciting one at the moment, especially a lot of the teams that are really, really growing and strengthening what they've got there. France as well. We know a lot of the emerging talent comes from France, especially Strasbourg at the moment. They are owned by Chelsea's owners, but they've got a lot of young talent there, kind of the intermediary who come in before Chelsea make that decision. So I'd say they're probably the two most interesting leagues to watch personally for me, mainly because of the players that are coming through and some of the style of football. They kind of give a lot more freedom to the attacking players to do what they want to do.
So you don't tend to fly out to watch Bayern Munich games. You tend to focus more on the FC Köln and the Red. I've completely lost my train of thought there. Dug a little hole. But you like to watch a lot of the Bundesliga. And that wouldn't necessarily mean he goes out and flies and watches Bayern Munich. You see what I'm doing there? I'm not saying you're doing anything. I'm saying you're not. He doesn't do that. Okay, so let's have a look at the squad as it stands. I'm going to share the screen. And because we think it's such a huge task, we're going to start with what we have at the moment, first of all, and then try and look. And guys, today, we have to split the stream up. It's going to be far too long, and we've both got things going on, and we love you guys, but we can't sit for 2 hours analysing every single player. So we are focusing on what we believe is the most important area of the pitch, because we think, don't we, Corey, that Everton have got a very solid defence. When Jared Brantford came into the team, we were the best defence in the league for the remainder of the season. We feel like if we can add the goals to the top end, Everton can be competing for Europe next season. So we're going to focus on attacking midfield this time. And then depending on what's going on, for example, with Michael Keane, we'll then add in whether we need to look at fourth choice centre-backs. Of course, we need right back and left back. We'll come to that now. Let me share this stupid thing. Okay. Window. Okay. You should be able to see this, guys. You can see this is Everton's squad. And all the players on the left are leaving as it stands, but we do believe that Adrissa Gay will sign. We just think he's away on international duty and will come back and all those formalities will be sorted. But this is a bit of a worry looking at this. We've got one left back. We've got 3 centre backs, 1 right back who Peter Duggan, don't get at me already. This guy has got no future at Everton as far as I'm concerned. He should be sold. We've got 1 player who can play on the right, who's not really a right winger. And then we have 4 central midfielders, 2 strikers, and 1 left winger. It is chaos. Corey, where do we start with this? If we were to start pre-season tomorrow, and the way the market looks with how difficult it seems with Saudi Arabia, with the big Premier League teams seemingly able to sweep up anyone by offering 8-year contracts, 6-year contracts, and convincing the players, setting them up for life, we could feasibly be going into pre-season in 3 weeks' time with, let's say we make 2 more signings. We might only have 15 players. You know, do we just draft in a load of under-21s, worst case scenario?
Yeah, probably. I mean, a lot of the teams that we play early on are Championship League 1 level, like Accrington Stanley. And what you tend to find is a lot of the under-21s will come through and they'll get their chance to train with the first team. what we really want to do is by the time we set off for the United States, we want to make sure we've got that good core, most of the players there in the squad to go away for America. Hello.
Oh no. Oh no. What are you doing? Okay. Good night. Is she come to say good night?
Yeah.
We're live on YouTube. Funny. Okay, back to that. She'd make a good little signing. Did you see her smiling the minute she sees me? She's adorable. Right, so we could potentially, you've really reassuring there, Corey, that we're going to draft in a load of players from the under-21s because naturally we would do that. But really, to give ourselves the best preparation, because every season recently, the pre-seasons have been absolutely crap. Let's be honest. We've been playing crap teams. We've been struggling to score goals. We've been chucking in a load of kids who we know are not going to make it and aren't good enough. And we waste a load of time. Even going so far as the fact that this year it's in America, we're going to get up 2, 3, 4 in the morning to go and watch Tyus Browning. Obviously, he doesn't play for us anymore. But you get the feet. You understand what I'm trying to say. We need the signings in. This next 2-week period, Corey, seems absolutely massive. And part of what I'm going to ask you today is, how realistic do you feel the signings that you're mentioning are, and how much do you think they're going to cost? But first, let's just go back to this team here. For me, I think that the main areas looking at that, if that was a starting 11, forgetting the bench, how do you take that to another level? In order of priority, because I think that's really important here. There are some positions where, yes, I'd love to sign, but I'm prioritizing. Okay. I think the first position is right back. And I know that goes against everything we've done in that stream because I'm saying attack, attack, attack. But in terms of immediate upgrade to that first 11, i.e. to take it to a higher level, is right back. The right back is championship quality, whereas everyone else is Premier League quality. So immediately right back. Okay. Yes, we need competition for Jordan Pickford. We're going to need a fourth choice centre back. I'm talking about priorities to elevate the first 11 higher. Right back, second position, Corey, for me, right wing. I don't think McNeil long term is going to be the answer on the right, and he'll play as a left or central midfield or around there. But Corey, McNeil probably is less of a priority to change, because if you get a good right back who can bomb on and provide that width, it allows McNeil to drift in to the left, and it now allows the likes of James Garner to actually drift to the right, doesn't it?
It does, yes. It's something that we've harked on for a long time, and it's something that we mentioned it was a massive, massive issue under Sean Dyche because of his tactics, where the fullbacks would not bomb on; they'd stop at the halfway line. So unless you've got ridiculous amounts of pace or skill, which India I did, but which McNeil doesn't, you and Harrison don't, you shepherd it into exactly where the defender wants you to go, inside, and you just recycle the ball, or you put a loft the ball into the box. It's easy to deal with. Massive, massive part of modern football, unless you go in inverted fullbacks, you need the wingers for that, is your marauding, overlapping fullbacks. It was a staple of Everton for a long period of time. Coleman on one side, Baines on the other, Luca Dean when he came in to replace him as well. It was a massive staple of what we were, and it just creates that extra bit of width. It allows your wide players to tuck inside, overload the central areas, and you can either play crosses or you can play your cutbacks and things like that. And it is something that we massively miss. And I do think we definitely need a right back. Although for me, as much as we need a right back, we need pace, even if it's off the bench. There's absolutely no speed in this team, and
no,
I'm desperate for someone who can really dribble and beat a man.
We have in the past found players, scouted players, seen players, whether that's under Walsh or Brands. We've missed out on top players. Gyökeres, who's at Sporting Lisbon, we chased him for a long period, and rightly so. Luis Diaz, a left winger at Liverpool. Nunes, who went to Man City. Haaland, Corey, I'm sure you can roll some more off the tongue there. But there are so many players that we have seen. Kudus, who's gone to West Ham, who's a very decent player. We've proven we can scout just as much as we've proven that we make so many bad mistakes. I mean, I just want to give a little bit of information from Duncan Ferguson's autobiography, where he said that Dan Purdy, who I think has just left Everton, was the performance analyst intern, and Marcel Brands made him director of scouting and operations. And and that Duncan Ferguson said, don't sign Cenk Tosun, and had a gut feeling. And so, a gut feeling can sometimes beat the data. And the eye test can sometimes deceive the data as well. For example, when you looked at SofaScore's rating of Henderson, the goalkeeper for England last night, he got 7.4 out of 10, whereas Pickford against Andorra got 7.3. And this is all based on statistics. But the most important thing, above all, tends to be the eye test. So we're going to try our best to give you that information. But I think, Corey, with what we're talking about here in terms of improving this first 11, we know the stats, but we're also giving you the eye test as Evertonians. And right back needs an immediate elevation. Right wing would probably be second most important position. And that is for me because Beto, minutes per goals, very high. Do I want him long term? Do I think he can play every single game and be the focal point? Probably not. But as one of three strikers, he is an unbelievable asset to have for certain games. So that's why my third priority, even though I think Garner, you could massively upgrade James Garner, you could massively upgrade Mikalenko at left back. We don't concede many goals, so that's not my priority. I think it's up front. Beto, another striker, Corey. Would you say that's the third priority, or is there something else that stands out for you?
I'm a big fan of Beto. So part of my argument is, in terms of going for a marquee signing, is that money, especially because of how many positions that we've got to spend out on and fill, would be, let's say, the 30-40 million you'd spend there. Would that be best off paying for putting all your money into a right back and a right winger? And then maybe, there's a good little, we'll get to it in a moment, but there's cheaper options there up front that we could potentially utilise as well. So it depends on how you want to play. We will discuss it as well. There's a couple of factors that come into play. Number one, are we going to give Beto the time? Do we believe in it? Number two, is Beto, or are there going to be other strikers out there who fit better into the David Moyes tactics? And again, something we will discuss about when we get through to strikers and things like that.
Well, David Moyes likes to have overloads on the wings. He likes to get triangles. He likes his fullback ideally to get to the byline and supply that width, and his midfielders to drift in. And ideally, I think he would like to see 3 or 4 players interchanging behind this focal point striker, and one of the fullbacks also joining in, which leaves you with 4 or 5 attacking, 4 in the defensive situation, and of course the keeper. So I think we understand a little bit about David Moyes. We've watched him across a long period. Corey watched his games when he was scouting a lot of the West Ham matches, and even followed him over to Spain when he was manager of Real Sociedad. But yeah, let's talk about the striking position, because we said we'll focus on striker and wing today. First of all, Beto, we still have Liam Delap on here, unfortunately. I think, did you send me an updated one without Liam Delap, which I've missed?
No. So I've specifically kept Liam Delap in on this one just for context, to see what he brings to the table, and just comparing everyone to him as a major target of ours as well. It's a one-off I've done just because it was such a unique position. We was going so all in for Liam Delap.
So Beto, first of all, he's the striker. Across the course of a season, no doubt he'll hit double figures for Everton, possibly even 15 goals. The basis of that is I think he's settled more into the Premier League. I think the style of football we're playing now helps him. Yes, he squanders a lot of chances, and that will be where coaching and his finesse needs to be worked on. But 30 matches played for Everton last season, of which 15 were starts, scoring 8 goals. And his frequency of goals was a goal every 193 minutes. So he's scoring approximately every 1 in 2 matches. If you're including, stoppage time would be a lot less than that, but a roughly 1 in 2 games. And then you're comparing some of these options. So Corey, would you like to walk us through Liam Delap first of all?
Yeah, of course.
Section.
So Liam Delap, as we can see, 37 games played, 32 of them he started. Most of the substitute appearances came towards the back end of the season when they were trying something different. He knew he was obviously going to be leaving the club. Now, he's got your 12 goals there. If you compare it to Beto's 8, he's got more. But if you compare it to how often he actually scored compared to Beto, are you able just to scroll up a tiny bit for me, right? There we go. So, Beto scores 8 goals from 7.86 XG. Liam Delap scores 12 from 9.34. So you can see that Liam Delap outperforms his XG, the chance that he's given, but the frequency in which he scores is actually less than Beto himself.
Yeah.
Obviously, Beto's played less games as well, so sometimes when you double the amount of games played or the amount of starts that he has, that frequency will probably drop down, which is fairly natural. But where is most interesting in regard to this, because everyone was saying about getting Liam Delap over Beto, is the biggest thing that we complained about Beto was his build-up play and his control. Now, we talk about stats, but we also talk about the eye test. Towards the back end of the season, you could see he was doing a lot better, winning a lot more of his aerial duels. I think there was a statistic where when Beto came in, he was like on the top 5 aerial duel winners, and the rest, everyone else around him was a defender. So it's showing how well he's doing in the air. It's just aiming that headed ball back to someone in midfield, which, again, it's depends on how you look at it. I think if you had Alcaraz closer to him instead of the Decore, a lot of them would go a lot more to your supporting player, i.e. Alcaraz, and allow the team to build from there. So if we talk about the duels, you can see Beto 49% aerial compared to Liam Delap 43. And he's actually got more ground duels as well, which, considering the belief around Beto is that he's clumsy, which you can see when you look at him. He's very unorthodox. He's actually got a really good ground duel percentage rate, probably bang on in the middle there compared to a lot of the players around him. So what we can actually see is, for what you would have paid 30 million for Liam Delap, you're getting pretty much better output from Beto without having to spend that outlay. The difference is, do you then want to upgrade to one of these other players? So you can see Omega, Barry, and Voltemeda. They're 3 of a very similar profile player. Slightly different to Beto, but they would be your out-and-out number 9, your starters.
Tell us a little bit about those 3. From what I've read, they're all kind of 6'4", 6'5", tall players with quite a rounded game, and all of a certain age. I mean, Omega at Strasbourg in particular, when you've been over to France to watch him, he's really set the world on fire. 27 appearances, all starting, and 14 goals for such a young lad. I mean, that's very impressive. And then Tierno Barry, who is at our arch enemy, Villarreal. He scored 11 goals. Apparently, we've put a bid in for him, but it feels a bit like agent stuff. And then Nick Woltemade. So is there anything you can share on those 3 in particular that would maybe say, because this is all about transfer targets now. And David, if you're watching, we're doing your homework for you, mate, because you've only got yourself and 2 others on your committee at the moment. So we're going to do the job for you. Corey, give us your thoughts on these options here.
Yeah, so the first thing to think about is, how are they going to fit into an Everton system? Now, all 3 of them, like I said, they can all be big players. They can all do decent hold-up play. Tierno Barry, you can see he wins a lot of his aerial duels, but he's in a considerably less physical league in La Liga.
Yeah.
Voltemeda and Omega, though, as well as Tierno Barry to an extent, they drift away from that focal point position. So whereas Beto wants to run the channels all the time, Omega, Barry, and Voltemeda will all drop deep a little bit, and they will do that role which Moyes likes, with the likes of Fulkrug, what Beattie did when he was with us, where they like them to hold the ball up, get involved with the play, and that brings your wingers and your attacking midfielder, your Alcaraz, your KL into play, and that's what he wants to do. Now, the best player for that, in my opinion, would be Voltemeda. 6'6", massive.
Is he mobile?
Yeah, I mean, he's not rapid, but he drops deep. He's an intelligent player. He wants to drop deep. He wants to receive the ball. He's very, very good on the ball, especially for the size. The fact he's 6'6", he doesn't win too many headers, but his game is pure technical. And just by having a 6'6" fella there, he wins more headed duels anyway. But
so how does that work then? Because if we've got a very tall centre forward who's maybe not the most mobile, but instinctively poaches because he's bigger, stronger, faster in and around the box, when we're playing away at a team where we're counter-attacking, because we can't, I think we are going to be a bit more balanced team next season. I think we're going to try and play more effective on the counter-attack, better in possession. We're going to be an all-round team. I hope that's what we're trying to do anyway. But when we're counter-attacking, how does that work? Do you need runners around him? And so is he a type of player that maybe he gives you a strengths, but actually his weaknesses mean you need to change your system slightly, or individuals where you can't have maybe someone like McNeil, who can play intricately but doesn't have the speed to kind of get up and offer that threat?
Yeah, very much so. So let's say there's two ways to think about it. If you're playing counter-attacking football, and this is what David Moyes has done throughout his managerial career, if you need that outlet, so you've got the big man in Voltameda, even Barry or Omega, but you play the outlet ball, he's a big lad, he wins a very high portion of his duels. All you need then is someone who's going to be close to him to collect that ball. So that would be an advanced midfielder, maybe an Idrissa Gana bombing on, an Alcaraz and Ndai. But then you'll need your wingers who are going to be rapid to overlap and just essentially get behind. And then when Voltameda, your target man, whoever would bring the ball into play, off clearing it, go the long ball, that's when your counter-attack breaks and you've got to be able to get forward. We would need pace to play like that. Alternatively, because we want to be balanced, if you're more in possession, he will still drop deep, but we're not talking deep on the halfway line as an out ball. Yeah. He would drop deep to drag the defensive line forward, and that would allow the likes of your Ndiaye, your Alcaraz, fullbacks, or anyone with pace out wide to then break the offside trap and then be through on goal. That's what the false nine position, that's what a lot of... I know we don't like talking about them, but Liverpool are very, very good at that. City are very, very good at that when they've not...
Do we need a runner then on the right?
We need width if you're going to play like that, certainly.
Yeah. Someone with legs on the right where maybe Ndai tucks in. But when Ndai tucks in, it presents another problem because me and you both think Mikalenko, if you're going long term, if you can get someone with this kind of defensive ability, but then adds in an attack. I mean, Nouri was the ideal player, wasn't he? At Wolves, he's just gone to Man City because him and Ndai would have been like the street kids on the block, tearing shreds through people. But the whole system concerns me because if you're putting a slow hold-up player in there and then you need someone with pace alongside him, you're not dropping Ndai necessarily, so you're going right wing there with that. Ndai's tucking in, and then the width on the left has to come from Mikalenko, or is Mikalenko the new Tony Hibbert who just tucks in narrow and he's there just for the, to give the solidity and everything's going down the right to come in. So there's a lot to think about. You've also named some other players. I mean, who's your pick, certainly, of those three of the younger ones at the top?
So, I mean, if we're going to go all out, then I'd probably go Voltameda just because I think he had something very different to what Beto does. Barry and Omega do offer that to an extent, but they are runners as well. They will drop out wide. They will run the channels in a similar vein that Beto does. So I feel like they're fairly similar to Beto. And if you look at the statistics, their outputs are all fairly similar as well. Voltameda would be my choice if I had to choose from them because he does drop deep and he just offers that different element. You don't want two of the same.
Would you take two of these?
Not for the price that they're going for, no. I personally am of the belief that I would personally stick with Beto and put the money elsewhere. Like I said, I'd throw a lot of money at right winger. I'd throw a lot of money at right back and potentially left back. But that's because it's a very specific player that I really, really enjoy. And it's just me being kind of biased towards
Robinson.
What you are?
Anthony Robinson.
No.
Thing in David Moyes' interview. We'll save that for your next show, your targeted left back, because we want people to come back. But I found it very interesting when Duncan Ferguson said that Marco Silva sounded like a bit of a wet lettuce. He sold Anthony Robinson for $2 million, and then obviously at Fulham he's a star man. But he said that Marco Silva also went to Eureka in Wavertree. There's a restaurant. Did you hear this?
No, I didn't. No.
You know where Eureka is in Wavertree?
Yeah.
My mum parents like it, but Marco Silva at the end of the meal with Duncan Ferguson starts counting. They're all trying to split the bill equally, him and all the staff and Duncan. And Duncan said he felt ashamed because he was completely penny pinching. And Duncan chucked in 40 quid and Marco Silva went, here's a $5 back, you've paid too much. These people are like multi-millionaires and they're like quabbling over. I mean, some of the coaches obviously don't get paid that much, in fairness, but yeah, I've sidetracked off the Anthony Robinson. So you've also named some other names there. I know Mohamed Amora. The thing with him is he's only 5'6". That concerns me a little bit. Is he someone you've put in there who maybe could play as a second striker role off one of the other ones?
So Mohamed Amora, Jonathan David, who's available on a free, still not decided where he's going yet. I did check that before we started the stream to make sure I've not missed anything. But all three of them, both of them, are a little bit smaller. They've got a lot more pace than the other players. So they're players that will get behind the line. Maybe a second striker. They could play across the front three. I know Amora does a lot more on the wing. He's a bit of a long shot. It's just someone to put in to kind of give you an idea of a different kind of option available to Everton. But for 40 million, unless he's going to play on the right, he's not someone I'd be specifically going for. but it's just to kind of give you an idea of different kind of players available. Jonathan David, though, for the free, I mean, look, he'd want assurances he's going to be starting every single game, so you'd have to play him either behind the striker, out wide, or something like that. But again, it's certainly a possibility.
Could he play on the right wing for us, Jonathan David?
He could. His main thing is down the middle, and he will drift out wide, mainly to the left because he's cutting in. But he can play out wide. He will literally drift across that, across the defense, across the front three, just looking for where he can play on a defender's shoulder, just kind of tease someone so he can basically just break that offside line. Yeah. For me, and it's not just because I'm a tight-fisted git, but Shuto Machino is the one that I really, really like. Now, 5 mil, anywhere between 5 and 10, probably like 5 and 7 or something like that is what he'd go for now. Yeah, Japanese striker, 25 years old. He was at Holstein Kiel in the Bundesliga, and they just about got relegated, but you can see there he got 11 goals that season from an XG of 6.43. Really composed in the box, really, really good. Now, he doesn't win aerial duels as much as, let's say, a lot of the other players. He does a similar job to Voltemade in the way that he doesn't just poach in the box. He will drop deep and collect the ball and kind of lay it off and be part of the link-up play. Yeah, mainly on the ground because he's technically quite adept. But in the box, he's absolutely exceptional as well. He does seem very, very clinical every time I've seen him. And like I said, considering they've been relegated to the Bundesliga 2, I believe the going rate for him is between 5 and 10 million. And I think just again to offer something different when we're trying to save money for other areas, in my mind, I think Shuto Machino would be an absolutely fantastic buy. And
yeah, but
Corey, really well in the Premier League next season if he was with us.
What I'm going to say, and this is something I feel strongly about for the audience, we at the start of the stream we said where the priorities are. So we're not going to we're going to invest. I think we've got a lot of money to spend, and we need to invest at right wing and right back. That's where the bulk of the money is going, and centre forward. And then because we believe we're already at high level at centre back. The fourth choice centre backs are going to be a low incoming fee. Mikalenko is a priority situation. Next season, we're going to spend big at left back, but we might only bring in a left back on loan this season or a young player to develop to compete with him. So I think we can afford to get 2 or 3 £30 million players. We'll have to. We can't compete with it, and we can't reach these guys. The Friedkins are talking about reaching a high level. For everything I see that the Friedkin group are doing with the appointment of the Atalanta coach, for example, it's telling me that these guys are not here to just do what we've been doing for 5 years. They're going to be actually showing some ambition. So I think we're going to spend money, but we're not going to be able to get, because we need 10 players. We're not going to go and get 10, £30 million players, but we might get 3 for the areas we prioritize: centre forward, right wing, right back. And then we might get we might spend 10 million on a centre mid. We might spend a few million to bolster the squad. And the reason is because most of the players that have left, the Youngs and the Cores, for me, they wouldn't have been my first choice for next season anyway. We've lost a lot of fringe players. So ultimately, improve in a few of the key areas to take us to another level, and then bolster the squad and improve on some of the fringe players or use those wages more effectively. For me, Jonathan David, obviously, is a very, very good player, an American, Canadian player, very good technical ability, can dribble, can play anywhere across the front three, scores goals every single season, 25 last season, 26 the year before, 26 the year before that. He's going to want a major salary. And, when you start talking about major salaries, they go to Saudi Arabia. So how do you compete with this? He's the sort of player you would love, but then maybe you would love to also sign, as you say, Nick Walt-Mead, or one of the others. Omega, for me, it looks like a good player. And then you're going to score goals. And then, Corey, you're scoring goals. We know we're going to not concede many. We'll be flying next year. We'll be in Europe. I think these are the missing pieces. And then, let's have a little look more about, you mentioned Machino. Obviously, he's only got 1 year's experience at the highest level in the Bundesliga and just been relegated. So there is a risk. But if you could get him for 5 million, you'd say, a squad player as one of 4 strikers or of one of 3 strikers, he would have something to contribute. Should we move on into, give me your pick overall here. You're the one with the money. There's 150 million pounds to spend, not necessarily all cash, but amortized fees. There's got to be, guys. We've not spent anything for years, and revenues have never been higher. I'm not doing this stream without a budget.
Yeah, 120, 150 is what I expect, whether you do some creative accounting to amortize it and things like that. Look, if I'm going to choose anyone as a dream one, it'd be Voltemada. Like I said, I think technically in my opinion, he's probably the best of them. And he drops deep and he odds at something different. Shooter Machino would be the smart choice, though. And I'd personally go with Beto for next season with a good bit of coaching behind him. But I completely understand why people feel like they needed a striker, like a main striker instead of Beto. I just have...
Well, to be, because we can't have one again. And for all the Chimiti lovers, sorry, where have you based Chimiti doing well? He scored a couple of goals against Sligo Rovers and he's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, and he after the full season out with injury, pretty much, he might need to go on loan or something like that. Now you could have him as the third choice, but I'd say if you got someone like Shooter Machino and then maybe a winger who can play up front, then you can start to rotate them players. Which when we get onto the right wingers, you'll probably see a couple of them will kind of cross over into that position as well.
We need agents to we need players to want to come because they're getting a big salary, and the ambition of the club is high. I think the last 6 months under Moyes will, if they show that in a presentation, they'll be impressed. What we've done, what we've transformed, how we're going, where we're going, what the stadium is, the elevation of the club. But then the fees are going to kill us, as some of our friends in the comments are saying. Mark is saying 42 million is too much for the player. So could we, if we get the player on board to the point where they're forcing moves and they say, I only want Everton, then we can go, right, we'll give you 42 million, but it's 20 million guaranteed, 10 million when he scores 15 goals for us. And, really incentivize it and maybe pay a little bit more, but it protects us. And if they truly believe in the value of the potential of these players, they should be able to go there. Peter, please watch your language. I'm going to move on to right wing and left wing because I've got to go at 8 p.m. on the dot. So, are these all...
So the first two are right wingers. You've got your main set here, and then there's a secondary set underneath that, and then left wingers underneath that as well.
Oh my God! Okay.
Even if you just wanted to focus on the right wingers, we're more than happy to.
Yeah. Are these ones
attacking midfielders?
Yeah, we're not doing cams today. Okay, let's have a look at some of the wingers. Okay, so obviously we're comparing what Everton had last season. Jack Harrison, 1 goal, no assists, doesn't do a lot. Iliman Ndiaye, on the other hand, doesn't create anything, but is that goal threat that Richarlison offered? We'd love another Richarlison or an Iliman Ndiaye playing on the right and drifting in. And some of the players you've suggested here, Nicholas Kuhn, Dylan Abakwa, Tom Fellows, Ben Doak, I'm removing him. I don't want to talk about him. Leon Bailey, Evan Gesand, and Ritsu Doan. And then are these more right wingers?
So, yeah, the next one is right wingers. And then on the other side, you've got
left wingers,
potential left wingers, some that may be more on a substitution kind of second string, third string squad play kind of basis. But this one here you're on are the players that would likely, if we were to get them in, would come in as first team. They'd be our right wingers. Now, what you'll notice through most of them, all but Tom Fellows are left-footed, and all but Tom Fellows are absolutely rapid. Evan Gesand can play up front as well. He's the kind of player who will get the ball out wide, run into the box, take players on. He's got a lot of power when he runs, but he's quite skillful as well. He's got some height, about 6'2" for the right winger. He's got a really good goal output, and you can see he's got a number of assists there as well. Creates a lot of big chances. A lot of them is via passing, but a lot of them, again, is for him running into the box.
Yeah.
Up top, you'll see Nicholas Kuhn, Dylan Bakwa. Nicholas Kuhn, now it's in the SPL, so...
Scott's not mad on Kuhn.
Yeah, he had decent time in Europe as well, but this is based purely on league statistics. 13 goals, 9 assists. Doesn't try too many crosses, as you can see there, but the main reason for that is because, although he's quite well-rounded on both feet, he wants to cut in on that left foot. He wants to break the line. He wants to cut in. He takes a lot of shots from outside the box. He's always looking to beat his man, but he wants to come inside. But he's really, really good at getting inside and getting into the box as well. Dylan Bakwa, again, fairly similar as well. Plays quite wide. He does try to get a lot more crosses in, but when you've got Emmanuel Omega up top and a 6'4" frame, you are going to try that. Creates a lot of chances. Pass accuracy is really good. Again, he's got very, very similar statistics, as you can see, to Nicholas Kuhn, the lane back will play more wide and more of a winger, whereas Kuhn will very much be wanting to get in to join that attack and get into the box. So it's a case of, what do you want? Do you want someone who's going to be more providing the assists, which is what we're missing, big chances and assists, or do you want someone who's going to add to the goals as well?
We need goals and assists, because I know this is it, because the fullbacks are not scoring, they're not attacking fullbacks. The central midfield in Garner and Gay didn't score. I don't believe either of them scored all last season. So you've got to then bring in the goals from the left wing, right wing, centre forward, and 10.
Yeah.
So they've got to be able to do both, and that's where we've got to bring all the money in. Unless you start ripping up Idrissa Gay and saying, I'm bringing in someone who's got more goals in them.
Yeah, it is. It's very much a case of goals going to need to come from somewhere. We're going to need more goals across the board. We need a striker who's going to get at least 15 goals a season, and then we're going to need 2 or 3 players who are going to get between 5 and 10 goals a season. Now, if we had 3 players with Njai's output in terms of goals, that'd be fantastic. But to get them goals all across the board, you're going to need players who are also getting assists. Now, that could be, like you said, from attacking players. Maybe Alcaraz doing a lot better than what Decore did in the 10 position. But that is where we need to go. Are we going to go wide?
Yeah.
Winger crossing balls in, delaying Bakwa, Ben Dowick, someone like Ritsu Doan, who just wants to get to the byline and get the ball in? Or are these players who are going to want to run into the box and create chances for themselves, i.e. Nicholas Kuhn, Evan Gesson as well?
Evan Gesson, that's a funny name. I can't remember my point. I'm going to move on. I just completely forgot. I had something really interesting to say. Moving on then, some of these players here, James McAtee's at Man City, young player breaking through. And of course, Mana Solomon, the Israeli international left winger, was on loan at Leeds from Spurs last season. He was very, very good, as you can see in the Championship. He's a very, very good player. But again, he's more on the left, cutting in on the right. So I probably wouldn't suggest him unless you want a competition. Jasper Lindstrom for me is another dud at the bottom there. And then obviously you've mentioned, pass accuracy, big chances. He doesn't do a lot. Some of these other players then, are there any there that stand out as potential backups for the right wing position? Because we need two, Corey. We need a first choice, and we probably need someone to compete with them. We've got no one else there.
So, James McAtee, I like, very good player, can play number 10 position, but he's not got the pace. We've got McNeil playing that position, so I wouldn't be spending the money on him that Manchester City will likely be asking for. Mana Solomon, I do like. He's got very, very good statistics. He is right-footed, but good on the left as well. But again, if you want someone to be a winger and get past the man and whip some crosses he's that guy.
He does the basics of being a winger well, beating the man, crossing the ball, shooting, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Rooney Bargy, you'll see down the bottom. He's out of contract in the 1st of July. Still not agreed anywhere else now. He had a really good breakout season in the Champions League for Copenhagen. Against United, he had a couple of good games. Now you can see he's barely played any games this season because he's had a really bad injury. Yeah. But for someone who come in on a free, you'd probably need a year to get up to speed. It's a really good option to kind of have if you're going to be patient with him. Otherwise, Matthias Visgarden, probably a little bit too early for him to be a starter. It's going to be a big, massive step up. But he's got a lot of good ability.
His names are just absolute made up on the spot. Kids Garden.
Yeah, so Visgarden, Norwegian. Norwegian winger. Plays on the right, cuts on his left. He's about 6'1", so he's got a good bit of size to him. You see his pass accuracy is a little bit lower, but again, he plays more of a striker than an inside forward as opposed to a winger than anything else. And Sinzavala Ageli, again, he's also Norwegian, plays a very similar position, left-footed, big lad, and he comes in, a lot of pace, can dribble, but he's the kind of player who's going to be a second striker cutting in, trying to get some goals, and very good at the back post as well.
Quite modest fees though, 15, 20 million in the end here. You've thought about this, because I think you're still in the mindset, I think, that we're not going to spend major money. Whereas I'm optimistic that there's going to be some real marquee names, or at least a couple of them. And one of them may be in this left wing section, which we're going to look at now. We will come back to this. We're not going to not come back to talking about transfers. It's going to be every week, more or less. the one obviously that we're talking about the most here at the moment is Jack Grealish. Apparently, Everton have spoken to his agent and he's interested in moving to Everton. But wouldn't you? I mean, he wouldn't have to move. He's going to probably play a lot of games. But for me, this guy, he doesn't score. He doesn't assist. He's got off the field problems. He's on massive wages. Jack Grealish, and he's a left winger. You know, is he going to play centre mid, central attacking midfield? Where's he going to play? I'm not sure about that one.
I mean, I like Jack Grealish. I think he's an exceptional footballer. He's been a victim of a lot of the individualistic players that have that kind of, they can bring a game in themselves. They become a victim of Pep Guardiola. As good as a manager he is, as much as he improves players can become a victim of that. And I think that's what's happened with Grealish. Because I remember him at Manchester. I remember him at Villa before City, and he was exceptional. Number 10, left wing. I marauded him from the central midfield position. He was the captain.
Play on the right, Corey.
He can and he will, because he'll be drifting in. He's not a right winger, really. He's flexible.
He's a midfielder that likes to go anywhere.
Attacking midfielder or left wing, and he will drift around the position if he's allowed the freedom to do so.
Do you need to, therefore, if you're putting Jack Grealish in this team, and I'm focusing on him at the moment because it's looking a potential, do you then have to have players who bring structure to you? More of a right back who's maybe less, well, the right back would have to be able to get forward with pace and bring that width because of the way Jack Grealish moves. And the same on the other side, the left back really ideally needs to get forward and provide that width because our attacking players, if we sign him, they're all moving around, they're all drifting, they're not in their fixed positions. Do you need then some players who are very fixed in their approach, disciplined defensive midfielders in there? Because you've got too many that don't have fixed positions and don't know where they're picking up maybe without the ball. And by the way, I do have to go in 2 minutes. So if you want to continue talking while I go onto my phone and get ready, I can kind of go on normal and talk to you about this.
What we'll do, we'll finish the Jack Grealish point because I've got some strong feelings on that. So he wouldn't play right wing, certainly not. He can just drift around and do that. You would need some solid midfielders, but really, and this is what Manchester City, Real Madrid, all them kind of players, Spain, Barcelona, even though they're fluid, when they lose the ball in that position, the players will get back. They'll get back into the position they need to be, when maybe not their position, but where they need to be. So it's about hard work. I'm a massive fan of Jack Grealish. I think he's an exceptional talent.
Do you want him?
And on loan, yes, if the fees are correct, I'd have him. Even if he plays the number 10 role, he plays left wing and allows Njai. It just allows, if he's a player who can play one or two positions and allows Njai to move, Alcaraz to move, it means we're flexible, because not only do we need to be balanced, we need to be able to bring players on who can change a game and change the way we play football, because there's no point going plan A and then plan A but with different players. You need to change things around, and maybe having Jack Grealish on for the start or as a sub will do that. His pass accuracy is really good. He does actually work harder than what people give him credit for. And there's a lot of talk about his off-the-field antics, but apart from getting a couple of years ago, yes, but apart from getting absolutely bladdered when City won the title, which is the end of the season, he's got a month before he has to sober up. I've got absolutely no issue with that. And for everything I see in terms of his charity work and stuff like that, he actually seems like a really, really good lad. And I think Grealish would absolutely love it here as well. I think the fans would love him. And I think he'd really, really appreciate kind of being the figurehead in the new stadium, even if it is on loan for the season. But the fee would have to be correct. It'd have to be the right fees for him, because we can't.
A chance to really shine in a team where they expect. Oh, I'm getting in trouble.
Yeah, exactly, and it's exactly where he was at and what he was doing at Aston Villa before he moved to Manchester City. He was a big fish in a small pond. He was the captain. He was the figurehead. He was the leader. I know a bunch of brummies who all had that haircut, the curtains, the arm hairband at the same time. He was loved. He was a Birmingham Beckham.
Keep talking, Corey. Some other names on
that. So that's why, although you can see his statistics are quite poor this season, crosses low, yeah, because he doesn't really try him. City are all about retaining the ball. You can see from the 91%. But if you give him the opportunity to try and take players on, then he will do that, and he can be a playmaker. He can be your inside midfielder. You just need to work around him. The other option I would say is there's a fella here, you'll see his name, Serginho, 24 games, 22 starts. Now this is for Viborg in the Danish league. He comes second or third when usually they're quite a poor team. Now he's the oldest player on this list apart from Grealish at 25 years old. But he's the exact kind of profile I'd like for the low fee to be a second or third choice winger. Someone who's not going to play all the time, but you bring him on late in games, he's going to change it. Now, 5 goals, 11 assists. Most of that came from dribbling and just taking players on. He get down the byline, down the wing. He's so good at beating the man. He's a proper old school Brazilian where they just love that bit of samba football, a lot of tricks, a lot of skills. And you'll see 2.3 dribbles a game. Pass accuracy not the best, but again, he's playing wide, trying to get past men and cross the ball in. And you see 17 big chances created. He's a high risk, high reward kind of player. And the Premier League might be a step up too far for him, but for 5-6 million, and for someone who is going to be a third choice winger or fourth choice winger, adds pace. I think that again, these are the kind of smart signings we should be making. Another one on top of that. Now, again, we're talking about the left midfield role. We've already got Illiman and Jai there, who is probably our main man at left wing. So he's the one you're not going to really knock him out of position.
We can't drop him, surely. I mean,
exactly. So the likes of Malik Fofana, who is an exceptional player, and 40 million is probably a bit of a steal compared to what he would have.
I am still here, by the way, but now I'm kind of driving to football, so I'm listening.
No, that's fine. He's the kind of player who would be he'd be a lot more expensive for Leon Wayne and his financial trouble as they were. So 40 million is probably out of the remit on what you'd spend on him. Hence why the likes of Cezinio at 5 million or so, Jack Grealish on loan, are the kind of players that you go for to be that second string left midfielder. Borja signs 10 million. That's a really, really good price for his ability. His output dried up a little bit in the second half of the season, but again, he is a decent player. The only concern with Borja signs is he's very much a similar kind of skill set to Illiman and Jai. Goes down the left wing, not exactly rapid.
Moise signs.
Is
he a long lost brother of Moise Keane's?
No, unfortunately not, lad. Borja for Spain. So he's not someone I typically go for, although the price is very, very good. Steffi Mavididi, not the greatest. His output's not been fantastic. He was part of a poor Leicester team where he was on the subs bench half the time. But again, as a third choice player, he's someone to have. He's definitely got pace. He's definitely got trickery. And he can create something out of nothing, especially if you're bringing him on late in games and he's got better players around him as well who can maybe draw the attention away from him and let him one-on-one a defender. Brian Zaragoza, you'll see him 22 starts out of 27 appearances. That was at Osasuna where he was on loan from Bayern Munich. Now, Bayern Munich, likely a lot of the reports are they want to recuperate the money that they've got for him. Now, taking in the loan fee into account, that works out to roughly £15 million. His pass accuracy, not fantastic. He's got a number of assists, not many goals. But again, for 15 million, he's a player who could start in this Everton team. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. But he, again, also wants to take a lot of players on. He has got pace, although he's not blistering like the way Steffi Mavididi is. Serginho is or Malik Fofana. But he's certainly got a decent amount of pace. Someone who can come in and play both wings. He's flexible. And when we need to replace so many players, it's good to be able to have players who can play on both wings or play more than one position, i.e. a Jack Grealish who can play left wing, central attacking midfield, and maybe even central midfield if need be, if you're really going gung-ho on it. But yeah, Mark Foster, you're correct. Zaragoza would be a bargain. A lot of people expect him to go for a lot more money, but Bayern Munich have decided they want to go for the likes of Elise, Birchhoff, a lot of different players at Bayern Munich are wanting to buy in. So they just want to get their investment back into them. Hence why he'd be going for such a low fee. He's done, I mean, considering Osasuna had a fairly decent season, he overperformed this season compared to what they were expected. Brian Zaragoza was a massive, massive part of that as well. You can see the amount of crosses he does per game. So he'll attempt roughly 3 crosses, just over 3 crosses a game. And on average, one of them will come into play. They will work. Again, that's in a league which doesn't really prioritise crosses in terms of La Liga. If you brought him into Everton and was allowing him to maybe go down the right instead of the left and allowing him to cross a ball in with a bigger player like Beto or one of the large
Corey
lads we talk about up front, yeah.
Would you go here? I know I'm divulging here, but we need two right wingers. Do you want one that's more of a get to the byline and cross it, and then another who's more of a I'm going to drift in, I'm going to cut inside, and I'm going to kind of be another midfielder and shoot?
So for me, I think you definitely need one that's going to be scoring a lot of goals. You want one who's going to be that second striker. Nicholas Kuhn, Delaney Backwell, Evan Gessander be the main ones there. You then want
Yeah.
someone still with rapid pace as well. So that's why I'd have Jorginho there. 5 million, very cheap. He's just rapid. Someone you bring on at the last moment when you need to. And then you want someone who's probably going to be a little bit more of, like you said there, a playmaker, someone who might slow the game down. Jack Grealish, Brian Zaragoza, although he's rapid, he's got a good bit of pace. He's someone who's a lot more technical on the ball as well, as opposed to direct. So I do think you need, the main one needs to be someone who's rapid. That's the most important thing, but also good in front of goal. We need someone who's going to be rapid again, because we need more than just him. We need extra pace. Someone who's going to be able to take players on. They don't need to have massive output. They just need to be able to beat a man and get a ball in and create a lot of chances. The likes of your Ben Doak, your Jorginho, your Mavididi, and then, like I mentioned there, someone who's a bit more of a playmaker. Zaragoza, Jack Grealish, or something like that. That's what I would go for. I think we need 3 wingers. One certainly should be the marquee signing, as people call it. And then it's kind of working out who works within what budget we've got left. You can shop at the bargain basement, the likes of your Jorginho, the likes of your Naipan, your Egley, or your Kvaratskhelia. Players who probably necessarily aren't ready for that step up, but can play a bit part in a season, can maybe play 20 games, but probably 15 of them are going to be substitute appearances across the season, where they bit part players, the cameo players, and then their consistency isn't as much of an issue, because they're just having a chance to go on and kind of do their thing when needed. And that is essentially why we've got the 3 separate slides. The first one is your starters. They're the ones you're going to break the bank on, pay a lot more money for. The other one, next one, is cheaper players on the right-hand side, mainly left-footed players who are able to cut in, still with some pace maybe. And then this slide that we've got here, which is your left-sided players, because we do need someone to still be an understudy or a support for Iliman and Jai as well, and maybe to change things up if we bring him inside. And that's where the likes of your Jorginho, your Zaragoza, your Mavididi come in as well. So, yeah. In regard to this, my mates, obviously we're coming up to an hour's worth of time. We have covered our strikers. We have covered wingers, obviously both on the left and the right. Are you happy to still keep carrying on, or do you want to call it there and we'll start with the midfield at some point next week?
Yeah, can you hear me, Corey?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Well, I was just saying, really enjoyed speaking with you, and you've given us some wonderful insight. I know you've got a lot of stuff to do, and you're off on another plane. Are you still going to Monaco tonight?
I am, yes. It's Euros under 21s at the moment, so I am flying out to do some more scouting there for the channel, mate.
Really good, thank you very much. And if you've enjoyed watching this show, follow Everton. We've really enjoyed having you. And don't forget, this wasn't pre-recorded. We did see all the comments coming in, but we had so much to get through, and we were reading them on air. And I hope you really like the new feature where you can see the comments coming up on the screen for everyone to view in real time. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. This really helps with the YouTube algorithm and how people find us when they're watching and searching back. If you're on X, thank you so much. Loads of people do follow Everton on X, but it'd be great if you could spare a few moments just to come over onto YouTube and at least subscribe for us and reward us for all the hard work we're putting in. The amount of air miles Corey has personally racked up in order to provide this stream would be enough to put American Express out of business. Okay, I think we're going to leave it there. I've got one final question for you, Corey. Are you all in on Jack Grealish, even though he's not really played a lot of football? Are you going big on Jack?
If it's a loan and the fees are correct, let's say no more than 110 mil, then I'd be 100% going forward without a doubt.
Would you take him if it was permanent only for 30 million?
No. We
Really?
can't afford it. We can't afford it for that position. The resale value is not there. Now, if it's a loan with a option to buy based on certain criteria, i.e. Alcaraz for next season,
Well, they're not going to loan him, are they?
Well, I mean, you just want him out the squad essentially and get a good portion of his wages taken up. If they can get a permanent transfer for him, then they will do. But they may go for a loan. And if it is a loan, that's not going to be something you see till the last couple of days of the window, because they'll try and get the best that they possibly can do. But
exactly, that's what I'm thinking. This this isn't a target for now. This is going to be something that may present itself probably on deadline day, when City have exhausted every opportunity, because they're going to look for a permanent transfer. But I think we could entertain a permanent transfer, but it would have to be very incentive-based, based on appearances and goals and assists. I mean, this guy went a year without scoring, I think. So I don't think we can go with commitments, but I think we could do potential commitments if he reaches certain targets.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, if you do a loan with with obligation based on criteria, I'd certainly be interested in that, because if he hits that criteria, then he's obviously done the job for us, and he can play. I just want to address Peter, because you keep saying he's a train wreck off the pitch. I don't know where I've seen that yet. When he was a little bit younger, but he's much older now, and apart from getting absolutely bladdered when they won the treble, or they won the Champions League or whatever, which I don't blame him for that. Bloody hell, if we were to go and win the USA Friendly Cup that we're going to win, I'll be on a 3-day bender myself. You know what I mean? So
are we going to win that cup?
No. with about 15 under 12s in the team, I don't think so.
Would you take last place now?
I'd take second, third to be acceptable, but fourth, no. We've got to aim higher than
Very
that.
ambitious.
West Ham are in it, aren't they? So
I know. I don't see it. But the thing that's giving me reassurance is we haven't lost too many first team players. We've still got the 11, apart from the right back situation, which is a farce. We've still got enough to put an 11 out, which is as good as what we had last year. But we do have Tarkowski injured. He's not going to be there at the start of pre-season. Branthwaite is touch and go for the start of pre-season. So we could be borderline turning up to pre-season with about 7 players.
Yeah. It's a case of, we need to find out what's happening with Michael Keane. That's going to be a big part. And then we go from there. Reece Welsh can come in and be a bit part, because he was on the bench anyway. He can come in and play some friendlies at the start of the season while like Branthwaite get up to speed. But we need to at least secure that 4th place centre-back spot. Whether it's through Michael Keane or whether it's through a loan, or most likely a free agent, that needs to be sorted out fairly quickly. But as soon as we find out what happens with Keane, I'm sure we'll find out what happens with the likes of free agents in the 4th choice centre back role. The important thing for me, like you've said, is sorting out them first choice spots. The likes of your right winger, who you want him to be your main guy. I want him in early. Your right back, I want someone in fairly early for that, so we know what we're working with. And then maybe as another central midfielder or a winger, so we know, like I said, exactly what we're working with. A striker, if we have to play the long game, I don't mind, because I think Beto could easily deputise. I think he could be the main man anyway, but if we are getting someone in, he could easily deputise for a week or two at the start of the season, especially because we should put a lot of focus on him in the summer, in the pre-season, to make sure he's playing at make sure he's basically smoothing off his sharp edges, making sure his control's better, his awareness on the ball, his passing and things like that. Let's get someone in and do that. That can kind of help you for the first couple of weeks of the season. But we need wingers, we need a right back, we need pace. And maybe
it's easier to say what we don't need. Corey, thank you so much. We'll see you very soon.
See you later. Thank you. Peace.